Hello, everyone. Sorry I'm late, as usual. I ran into a little issue when I was looking for a specific video. It would appear as though, as far as I can tell, that the channel I was looking for is no longer on YouTube, from what I can see, because, well, I couldn't find the channel. So, hey, Kristen, if you're still here. Hey, Christy. I know it's been, let's see, when was my last live stream on YouTube? A week ago. So I know it's been a little while. I should not have any microphone issues tonight, knock on wood. I figured out that it was not my microphone. It was, in fact, the specific laptop I was using. So I have two laptops I'm using. One of them, the one I'm using right now, is barely hanging on by a thread, needless to say. And but the microphone works fine on it. The other laptop I have is faster and not as old and is not hanging on by a thread, but for whatever reason, the USB ports in that particular laptop are malfunctioning. So that was the issue I was having with my microphone. So that being said, hopefully, like I said, knock on wood, it's there shouldn't be any issues. You might hear a little bit of background noise just because the laptop I'm using is running sort of loud. But other than that, yeah, we should be good. I will check right now just to make sure that you guys can hear me with my headphones. Hey, Sophia. No, I didn't, Sophia. If you feel comfortable going into further detail about it, feel free to. But I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to as far as uncomfortable things to talk about. But I'm sorry that happened to you. It's not cool. This is the clearest you've ever heard me. Oh, okay. Well, fantastic then. Hello, Scotty. Where have you been? I haven't seen you on my D live streams in a while. Shame on you. I'm just kidding. Like, I don't expect you guys to be there all the time. You know, I'm sure you guys have, lives and whatnot, unlike me. No. So again, as always, I don't have any itinerary prepared. Oh, right. Let me check to make sure. Oh, you did say you can hear me. Okay, but just to double check. I believe you. But just to make sure. Okay, but just to double check. I believe you. Yep, there I am. Okay, good. Yeah, so nothing new, no breaking information or news, although I did notice a couple things that I didn't notice before, as far as like their little Easter eggs that they like to leave us in these orchestrated events. Of course, now I'm trying to remember. I remember one of them, but I will remember the other one, and I will tell you guys when I remember, but I don't want to go into, I was say too much conspiracy right now, but this whole thing is a conspiracy. So it's really hard not to. Oh, I was in there for a second, Christy, but then I left. Yeah, I left. So, and I'm not surprised they were talking about the Honor Network, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were saying only great things about that organization. However, I wasn't there, so I'm not sure. I mean, I wasn't there when they were talking about the Honor Network. And the honor part can be very deceiving. Oh, which channel, Christy? ODD TV. It's a channel that I've mentioned several times, especially recently in my live streams. one of the channels. The other channel is RV Truth. And then, of course, I mention Ole Damagard a lot, but he's no longer on YouTube. Go figure. It seems to be the case for a lot of the channels that are speaking out about these orchestrated events. So luckily my channel, I mean, I guess there's one good thing about it being small is that I don't, I don't have a whole lot of attention focused on my channel as far as like the things I'm saying. So I don't know how the YouTube algorithms work, but now I'm just rambling. So but yeah, the channel I was referring to is ODD TV. So I will link his Odyssey channel. I was going to link his YouTube channel for you guys, but I will link his Odyssey channel at some point and pin it at the top. But yeah, it's really bad, Kristen. Really, really bad. And the fact that they did it, they were talking the opposite. That's surprising because it's surprising. I don't want to talk negative about any channels, but I usually leave that for D Live because there's not as many people over there. But no, I'm just kidding, kind of. But no, I feel like I can speak more freely about other channels and other creators, at least more freely on D Live than I can here. And it's not necessarily talking like bad about them, but it is calling them out on certain things. So I guess some would consider that trashing, but it's not. Hey, Stephanie. Hey, Tiger Girl. But yeah, the Nick and Amanda Thayer interview, and the thing is with with these orchestrated events, you will notice that the ones who are involved, especially in the pew 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 events, they will, and I've mentioned this before, but they will either the day of or very soon afterwards give these mainstream media interviews, talking about how their child was just killed in this horrific event, right? So again, I know that people deal with death differently, and some might handle it better than others. Some might show more emotion than others, and some might, not show any emotion at all. But you have to remember, this is the day of. I mean, if it happened to me personally, I wouldn't be able to speak or move, but I'm not everybody, but I'm just saying. So the fact that they're the day of or just shortly after are already pushing some sort of agenda like pew 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 control the day of, that's a huge red flag, and that's what people need to be questioning and look out for. Same thing with the Watts case, like I mentioned in my last stream, or one of my last streams, was the what are they called? Not a poll, but the thing that you get people to sign up for to push something. Hey, Sweet Pea. Hey, Mike dropping mom. Hey, Ara. A petition. If they're immediately starting petitions just days afterwards and before the person has even been fully convicted or charged, that's a huge red flag. And the person that was pushing this, what, gosh, I can't even think. What did I just say it was called? Petition. I keep wanting to say propaganda. Propaganda on the brain all the time. If they're already pushing this petition and it's coming from, someone like Nicole Atkinson and her son, and the ones who said they had nothing bad to say about the guy, but yet not barely 5 days later, before the guy has even been charged, they're already pushing for some sort of law to be passed. That's a red flag. Petition, yes. All right, thank you. I'm like, duh. So I will answer some more of your questions. I'm going to try to not make this live stream so long. I know that I enjoy long live streams, especially if if you're there for the live and you're in the chat, but I know they can be quite long for anybody who's watching the replay. So I'm going to try not to drag it out. I said, of course, I'm going to try not to. No promises. Yeah, exactly, Ara. Oh, but really quick, back to that Nick and Amanda Thayer interview. The reason why I brought up the Pew 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 events is because several people in this case, not several, I don't want to say several, Nick and Amanda Thayer and what was her name? Oh my gosh, I am like having total space cadet moments. The one that lives in Arizona, her friend that lives in not Christina Meacham, she lives in Hawaii. Duracier. What's her first name? She and Nick and Amanda Thayer both gave interviews the day that they found out that Shanann, Bella, and Cece were in fact dead. So the day that they excavated their bodies. And one being doing their interview in a park of all places. And of course there's some, I haven't figured out the connection, but there's some sort of, they love park, the park word, parkland, Parker. How many, I don't know how many times the word park was mentioned in the Watts case. It's overwhelming. But, and then of course you have Nicole Kessinger, who gave her interview in the park. Like, who meets a potential witness in a busy park, public park? I mean, it's straight out of a movie. I've said this before, but I literally picture in my mind like these two FBI agents or CBI agents walking up in their trench coats, right? The typical beige, old-fashioned trench coats with that hat, with the investigator hat on, with the recorder in their pocket, being all sneaky, trying to catch this person when they're interviewing them. It's just so very, very movie-like. But we don't get any visuals, so it's easy, I guess, to have an imagination. But Nick and Amanda Thayer are giving this interview, and you'll notice with the ones that are involved in these events, they will say one thing, but their actions and their body language will say another. So they'll say, I'm so sad, I'm so sad, I'm so sad, and they're saying how heartbroken they are, but yet there's no tears, or they're forced tears, or they're wiping their face again, and there's no tears. Or they're wearing sunglasses to hide the fact that there's no tears. And again, I know that people deal with tragic situations differently, but think about everything surrounding it, as far as, like, again, that being on the same day that they just found out that their good friend was murdered by their other good friend and their children were murdered, right? And here they're just sitting on a park bench laughing it up. It's pretty telling, in my opinion. Then you have that's her name, Cindy Duracier, or Duracier. I don't know if it's like French or something. Excuse me if I said it wrong, but she did it on the same day with Arizona news outlet, and she's got, well, no, one, again, her body, what she's saying is not matching her body language. Two, she's got a big old black label Thrive patch smack dab on her hand or her arm. I don't remember which one it is. But I mean, it's like, come on. Like, you can put that patch anywhere you want. You could put it on your ass cheek if you wanted to, right? You can't hide your Thrive patch for a 20-minute interview, 30-minute interview, if that, about your deceased friend that you just literally found out was brutally murdered, right? Based on the official narrative, and her children that day. You can't hide your hideous Thrive patch. That Black Label Thrive patch are terrible. Well, they're all terrible in my opinion, but and again, no tears. She's saying how sad she is. No tears. Yes, Ara, I do. I believe that it was a huge publicity stunt by Thrive. Thrive is one of the bigger players in this event, and I know that they're this because this if we have predictive programming all the way back to 2011 when American Horror Story first aired, that means that it was more than likely planned even before that, but at minimum 2011. So they're not going to go out of their way to plan this whole thing if there isn't some sort of, again, agenda behind it or multiple agendas. I know that there's something that I'm missing. I've mentioned several, but I think this is even bigger than I imagine it is. I mean, it's big. Hey, me, Jamie. Hey, Matt. Hey, Mark. Hey, Loretta. So, I'm probably taking a risk playing this ODD TV video that I'm going to play for you guys. It shouldn't be copyright violation because it's ODD TV, and if they say anything about it, I'll contact ODD TV somehow and get him to approve it and say that it's fine. And he's not going to have any problem with me playing it. And he's one of those channels that are for getting the truth out there. Hey, Michelle. But I am a little worried considering I just tried to go find his channel on YouTube and it's gone. So me playing this does worry me a little bit. But hopefully, I don't know. We'll see. Hey, Pride or Honesty. Yeah, that was interesting, Pride or Honesty. That Nick felt work. Well, originally, when I originally looked up Nick and Amanda Thayer a while ago, they owned allegedly their own photography company, as a married couple. Now he works for, as Pride or Honesty said, narrative imagery. And that's interesting too. It's narrative, like a story narrative. But and he's pretty much, he works in production. So yeah, that's really interesting that you mentioned that, Pride or Honesty. Thank you for mentioning that. Hey, Deb, good to see you. Okay, so yeah, so I'm going to play this ODD TV and fingers crossed. I might, depending on, it's been a while since I've watched it, but I might, just in case, skip through some of it. Just depends on what's being played. So they attended Thrive Palooza. Hey, Jay. Interesting. Oh, and just heads up, it's called Colorado Conspiracy, as you can see.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Hope all is well. This is ODD, and I want to put a spotlight on Colorado because I live in Colorado, and some of my observations lead me to believe that it may very well be the New World Order headquarters. Now, this is all speculation, of course, but I feel that it's justified. So let's get started. Right off the bat on the state seal, we see the all-seeing eye at the top. We know what that means. We don't have to say too much about that, but let me point out something very interesting.
Okay, so sorry. I know it's not even a minute into it, but before he gets into the whole meaning behind this emblem, do you guys remember from the body cam footage? I don't remember exactly what part of the body cam footage. I don't know. I don't know if it's Coonrod's or a different officer, but it's when they're in the backyard and by the basement window, I believe, or underneath the porch. I can't remember exactly. I didn't want to. I should go back and try to find it exactly. But there is there's a two sandbox toys, right? The plastics, for the girls, and one of them is like a shovel, and one of them is like a rake or something. And they're laid out exactly like this on it as an X. Hey, Craig. Um, like X marks the spot, exactly like this emblem. And listen carefully to what he says about the meaning behind this miner's, whatever it's called, pickaxe or whatever it's called, hammer. Just pay attention to what he says, okay? All right. Here we go. I just remembered prospector. Okay, here we go.
On the bottom of the seal, we see that Colorado was established in 1876. That's exactly 100 years from the time that Adam Weishaupt founded the Order of the Illuminati in 1776. Now here's the kicker. 1776 is also the year that the design for the Great Seal of the United States with the all-seeing eye on it was submitted by a man named Pierre-Eugène du Cimetière. So basically, the Order of the Illuminati and the Great Seal were both created in 1776, both which use the all-seeing eye, and 100 years later, Colorado was established also using the eye on its official seal. And to this day, it's the only state to do so. Underneath the eye is a bundle of sticks with an axe sticking out. This is known as the fascio, and it basically means totalitarianism or authoritarianism. Fascio equals fascism.
Also, on the fascio
is what appears to be XIX, which in the official explanation just says they are ribbons. So lots of interpretations can be made there. One that I consider is double X or double cross Saturn symbolism, because the seal of Saturn is two X's. And what's crazy is that it easily converts into the Freemasonic square and compass, and even what's known as the Star of David, but also has many other names, such as the Star of Remphan, as I like to call it. But this makes sense when you understand that the elite do in fact worship Saturn, which is the god of 1,000 names. Another interesting aspect is the heavy use of blue and red on the Colorado seal. A lot of researchers attribute the two colors to Saturn, but an easy way to look at it is the dualistic nature of our world and society. Red and blue is Republicans and Democrats. Coke and Pepsi, the illusion of choice. Anyway, a shield with mountains, a pickaxe, and a hammer. I'm not really sure what to make of it, but I'll take a stab at it. The pickaxe and the hammer could represent the designers and builders of Freemasonry known as the architects. The shield itself definitely symbolism of sorts, being that they are used for many logos, including Warner Brothers and the NFL. But what really comes to mind is the Rothschild family, whose name translates to Red Shield. The Rothschilds are one of the most wealthiest families on Earth, and if you look at the top of the shield here, it's red. Not too certain, but just food for thought. Last but not least, towards the bottom of the seal is the Latin phrase, nil sine numine, which translates to nothing without the deity, and we all know which deity they are talking about, the God of this world, according to the Bible. Now we're going to move on to the Denver International Airport, DIA. This airport is the largest in America and one of the biggest in the world. Here's an aerial view of the land, and just this little part right here is the main building that travelers go through. Let's check it out on Google Earth to get a better perspective. So now we are right above the land, and I'll show you around a little. This is what I'm talking about. Just this right here is where you go to get in. This is the funky roof that we see in pictures. Surrounding the white building are parking garages, and then outdoor parking on both sides as well. It's just huge, and after you get in, go through security, you go down underground to get on a train, at which point you're taken to one of the 3 concourses, which are these buildings here. Down here is where you enter from Pena Boulevard, and this is also where you find the demonic-looking blue Mustang. The creator of the statue, Luis Jimenez, was killed when a section of it fell on him at his studio.
Okay, so I want to pause it right there because even though it's on the blue horse, it's really should be like the white horse. But which I should probably do this anyways because pause it, to do some commentary and make it original to my own, just in case YouTube wants to try and come at me. Hey Lou. The white horse symbolism. RV Truth, the channel that I mention a lot, there's a video that he made somewhat recently, a couple months ago, where he talks about how they are using this white horse symbolism in a lot of these orchestrated events. And it's interesting as well because, of course, the Watts case happened in Denver, Colorado, or not in Denver, but in Colorado. And the Denver Broncos mascot is the white Bronco or white horse. And you have Nate wearing his Broncos gear all the time. And there's another specific creator, well-known, bigger channel, who likes to use this white horse symbolism on their live streams a lot, which is rather interesting, to say the least. So I just wanted to mention that. Oh, and also I mentioned it in one of my videos, but if you look at the CBI's emblem or logo, it's very similar to Colorado's with the all-seeing eye and triangle in their logo as well. So very interesting.
Creator of the statue, Luis Jimenez, was killed when a section of it fell on him at his studio. So yeah, really big place with lots of land, and it's reported that the project went $2 billion over budget, making it easy to understand that there really is much more to this airport than the public gets to see. I fully believe that it's a deep underground military base, and it's also multi-purpose. It can serve as anything from a FEMA-type concentration camp to a fallout refuge for the financial elite ruling class. So now we will make our way inside, where we'll be greeted by spooky gargoyles in suitcases. What's up, spooky gargoyles in suitcases?
I want to eat your soul.
Oh snap, let's go look at the murals. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with this, as it's been a very popular conspiracy for years now. So I'll breeze through the rest of this segment. We have the 4 murals, and they go in this order. hardcore military oppression, police state, total destruction, and the death of race and religion, coming together for a new world order, and finally living in peace and harmony under a one world government and one world religion. A large portion of DIA is called the Great Hall and is named after a room found in Freemason lodges. Within the Great Hall is a Freemasonic capstone with the time capsule underneath, not to be opened until 2094.
Oh my gosh, sorry. If I could get my mouse over to the other monitor. Geesh. I know this is kind of hard to see, but if you look closely, the date, it says March 19th, 1994. So 319. Is that a similar number that or a familiar number that we all are familiar with? Is that what I'm trying to say? Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. And you're welcome, Matt. He does really great work. And again, I think his channel might have been removed from YouTube, but I'm not positive yet. But yeah, March 19th, 319. So is that Survey 319 ring a bell? I can't take credit for that. Someone else actually found that. But it's rather interesting. Oh, and one more thing, in my opinion, not only are they putting all of this stuff in plain sight all over the Denver airport, but they're also mocking us with all of it by literally putting it in plain sight. And that's what they do in these orchestrated events, and very much so with the Watts case. And I pointed out an overwhelming amount of breadcrumbs and Easter eggs that they have incorporated into this case. And I really, really, really hope that people start waking up soon, because it's only going to get worse. And especially in the true crime community, people are just going to keep getting duped and duped and duped over and over again. So I really do. I really hope people will start to wake up.
Take note that towards the bottom it says New World Airport Commission. The weird thing is that there is no record of this commission's existence. This whole place is a Freemasonic shrine, and there's even a statue of an astronaut, Jack Swigert, at Concourse B, constantly reinforcing the hoax that is space travel. Let's head over to America2050.org, and we could look at the future mega regions or mega cities, just like Mega City 1 on Judge Dredd. There will be 11 mega regions, including one that will consist of Colorado Springs, Denver, Santa Fe, and Albuquerque. This will be accompanied by the Trans-American Passenger Network, which will connect all the megacities. Now, what I find interesting about this is that if you look at what's called the possible Yellowstone supervolcano eruption map, it almost seems to correlate with the future megacities. We could overlay this map over the other, and it's a perfect match. It doesn't seem like a coincidence, but I hope this doesn't happen, and I am speculating. So my point is that Colorado is still there, even though it seems off because it's really the only mega region in the center of the map. Let's check out the Hunger Games map from the movie franchise. Now, do you see where the capital is? A lot of that is Colorado. Not all of it, but still. Also in the movie Hunger Games, the Resistance is headquartered in an old military facility built beneath a mountain and is capable of launching missiles. A nod to NORAD, which is the North American Aerospace Defense Command located in Colorado Springs inside of Cheyenne Mountain. NORAD is featured in movies like War Games from 1983, the Terminator franchise, and Interstellar, which used NORAD's mountain bunker as the headquarters for the new NASA.
Nassholes, I call them.
Also in Colorado, we have NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. It's located in Boulder, and they are the people that put out the official story on 9/11, which we know is completely bogus. So right off the bat, we know there's something up here. Over the years, there's been a lot of speculation regarding this place, including that they work on hologram technology and voice of God technology, which is the technology that uses certain frequencies to direct voices straight into your head. Both technologies would be used in a Project Bluebeam scenario. On July 20th, 2012, just 4 or 5 months before the Sandy Hook hoax took place, we had the Dark Knight Aurora shootings with James Holmes. I don't know if anyone was injured or not, but it was completely staged, and it couldn't have been more obvious. The alleged shooter, James Holmes, was involved in mind-altering neuroscience research, like behavioral programming, basically. And that's exactly what appeared to happen to him. Some sort of MK Ultra Manchurian Candidate type stuff. They say he went on a killing spree inside the theater where Dark Knight was playing, dressed as the Joker. If you go back and listen to interviews, the stories were inconsistent, and many people said there were 2 gunmen. And then James Holmes is in...
And I probably should have skipped ahead through this because just simply by what he just said. That's not good. But whatever. You know, my channel gets taken down, it gets taken down. At least I tried. Because at this point, you know, again, I can play these videos on DLive, and I've played this video on DLive, I think twice actually. And but I can't force everyone to go over to DLive and follow me over there. So this is what I have to do and play other videos of other creators so that you guys can see that I'm not the only one that's pointing out these inconsistencies. As far as I know, I'm the only one doing it in true crime, but there's other people like Michelle and ODD TV, RV Truth. There's so many out there, and so many of them have had to restart all over again because their channels have been taken down by YouTube for speaking out about the truth. But what I wanted to say about this, about how he's in court the next day, if you look at the Tristan Bailey case, in my opinion, I have not delved into it that deeply, but it's one of those orchestrated homicide cases. There's many red flags. There is occult numerology all over the place. Nothing adds up. You got a 14-year-old kid that supposedly stabbed this girl 114 times out of what, rage? He's carrying shoes. Don't get me started on the shoes. There's shoes all over the place. It's just another thing that they put in plain sight. It's their little mockery and their way of communicating with people in the know. And look out for shoes. If you see shoes being coming up a lot in these homicide cases, that's just a red flag. Hey Jen, good to see you. Long time. But in the Tristan Bailey case, you have just the day after, right? This kid was arrested. This Aiden Fucci. The day after he's arrested, he's already in court. Usually, I don't know. I'm sure all court systems are different depending on what state you're in. But if you go for domestic dispute or something and you're arrested, you'll sit in a jail cell for quite some time, at least a couple of days, if not a month or 2, before you even see a courtroom. And here this 14-year-old kid is, the next day after he allegedly admitted to it, is in the courtroom the next day. The camera is right zoomed in on his face, right? It's all shown for the whole world to see. And literally the next day, I mean, he hasn't even been completely charged yet, and he's already in court the next day. That's moving pretty fast, just like the Watts case. 3 months for a quadruple homicide case. It's not realistic. It's really not.
Mind control slave. And the messed up thing is that guy could be an actor for all we know. But I lean towards him just being thrown under the bus. I don't know. But what's really telling is that Lil Wayne came out with a music video 3 days before the shooting called Still Homies. And the video took place in a movie theater with 12 skeletons scattered throughout the seats. And that's exactly how many people that were claims to have been murdered in the Dark Knight Massacre. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in search of truth, this is ODD, and that's why I believe the state I live in might be the New World Order headquarters. Thanks for watching.
Be sure to subscribe and don't forget to check out other videos right here on ODD TV.
Okay, so any questions as far as that goes? I have another ODD TV video that I want to play. It's like 40 minutes long, but he mentions a lot of stuff in there that I probably should not play, especially on a live stream. So I will probably end up skipping through a lot of it. But again, I will post the link in the chat if you guys want to view the full video. But again, this is important for me to show you guys because it, maybe me just talking about it is not enough to wake people up. I don't know, but it's good for you guys to see that there are other channels that are pointing out all the same stuff that I am, so yeah, there's a ton of twin pillars in their house. Jay, exactly. And yeah, again, are those is that a common structural type thing that you have in archways? Of course, but again, they always have another meaning, and they probably picked that house for that reason or designed it that way. In my opinion, it's more than likely that neighborhood, and I know that sounds probably very conspiratorial and crazy, but I wouldn't, it's more than likely that neighborhood, that Windham Hill neighborhood that the Watts lived in was developed especially for this case. And that's why I say it goes that far back. And even I think I'm missing something, the bigger picture of this. I think it's way bigger than even I think. So it's huge. I mean, it's totally a Truman Show type neighborhood. Like, none of the neighbors knew who Shanann was. How do none of the neighbors know who Shanann and Chris? The Watts, right? Yeah. No, they were the Watt couple. They lived like 3 houses down, and they didn't even know who Chris and Shanann were, barely, and they didn't even know that they had the same last name as them, pretty much. And it would not be difficult for a company like Anadarko, who are obviously have a lot of money, to build that neighborhood or purchase the houses in that neighborhood solely to make sure that they could pull off something like this. Because the last thing that they're going to want is real neighbors, real nosy neighbors. I'm not talking Nate, not talking nosy Nate, real nosy neighbors butting in and possibly ruining the whole thing for them. because we know how nosy neighbors can be. And yes, even little old Betty, sweet old Betty, is also a part of it. Nate's a part of it. Betty's a part of it. 100%. I mean, what kind of neighbor literally like says, "Oh, he never backs his truck into the driveway, so he must be up to something." It's like, okay, and somebody brought up a good point. Who was that? Was it Matt? Was it you, Matt? I think it was you in Mia's stream. You mentioned, yeah, it was you. You mentioned the fact that why Shanann or Chris had to worry about his work truck leaking oil on the driveway when he's supposed to be like a master mechanic. Like, so if it leaked at all, wouldn't you think that he would fix it? I don't see any proof that guy, Chris Watts, was a master mechanic. Like, I don't care if your wife doesn't want you to have it in the driveway. I don't care if your wife made you sell your favorite Mustang. If you're a master mechanic and that's something that you love to do and you were going to go to NASCAR school, you would be working on everyone's cars. You would be working on her car. You would be working on your truck. You would have so many more tools than just one toolbox. But of course, the narrative wants us to believe that Shanann Watts made him sell everything, right? And he just stopped doing what he was doing because he's just a total sap. I don't know the word I'm looking for. But, I mean, that guy didn't have 1 ounce of oil or anything. And he works for an oil company, and he had so much time after killing his entire family to just scrub his entire hands clean. It's not real life. This case is not real life. And I'm not gonna sugarcoat it anymore. I'm just not. I've spent too much time on this case to keep sugarcoating it and worrying about being taken down or getting a strike, because it's getting us nowhere. It's only wasting my time, and it's only wasting all your time. But people, and I hate to say people, but I don't know which way to say it, but I really hope that people do start waking up to this case, even if that means admitting that they've been duped. Just get over it. That's the only thing I can say. I know that's easier said than done, but I mean, just try to suck it up and say, hey, that sucks. I mean, even I was duped. I've said this before. I didn't know right off the bat that this case was what it was, right? Even I fell for it. Even I said, oh my God, that's horrible. How could this guy dump his family at his workplace and bury his wife in a shallow hole or grave or whatever, and dump his daughters into oil tanks, even though it was only 8 inches, right? At the time, right away, I didn't know it was only 8 inches, but even when I, heard that it was 8 inches, it was so horrific that I didn't even think about it, But that's how they do it. They make it so horrific and so sad that even though there's inconsistencies, it doesn't matter, because all people do is think with their emotions and they don't think logically. Yeah, exactly, me, Jamie. No time of death. And I've seen that before with other orchestrated events, especially with the Las Vegas Pew 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 event. So, and what are the odds that Survey 319 was an old well? So they use the excuse that there's no security cameras because it was going to be decommissioned soon or plugged and abandoned. And then, just a short time after, those oil tanks were destroyed. Gone. How convenient that it was an old well. It's very, very likely, in my opinion, that there was never any oil in those wells at all. They didn't have to drain anything. But that's what they told us, so that's what we're supposed to believe, right? because law enforcement told us, so it must be true, or the government told us, so it must be true, or the mainstream media told us, so it must be true. Actually, quite the opposite. Okay, so the other video that I downloaded, I actually downloaded it, so that's why it wasn't buffering. So this one might actually buffer, and Odyssey is not the best. They're still working out glitches and whatnot. So, but then again, I might be stopping it and playing it anyways because, how did I get on this one? This is not the one I wanted. Simply because of what he mentions in here. So there might be a lot of CA talk, which is a no-no on YouTube, and well, we'll see. So you know what's weird is every time, I don't know why, and I'm not trying to make fun, but every time I see that ultrasound image, Shanann's ultrasound image, all I can see is the KFC guy, the Colonel. Like I don't know why, but I just see like a mustache and the KFC Colonel, whatever his name is. I don't know why, but I can't get past it. I try to look at it a different way, and that's all. I mean, I do see a baby, but I also see the KFC guy. I don't know. Maybe it's those 4D ultrasounds that make it look weird, but okay. So this ODD TV video is called "One World Order Out of Chaos," and he's going to be mentioning. So I want you guys to pay attention because he's going to mention the Hegelian dialectic. He's going to talk about how they put symbolism in plain sight. Sorry. So the Hegelian dialectic, the problem reaction solution that I'm always talking about, especially just recently. I think he even mentions the Smith Modernization Act of 2012 that I also mention a lot. And again, the symbolism in plain sight. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Because again, it's been a couple months since I've seen this. So I've played him on DLive, but it's again, it's hard to get everybody over there. So okay, here we go. Sorry, I forgot to do share audio. Hey, States of the United. Hi, Sunshine Joy.
Chaos. Order out of chaos. What we are witnessing all across America, the rest of the world, right now is pure chaos. People are sitting in their homes right now, watching the news or driving somewhere in their car with the mask on, listening to the news on the radio, and they're in a state of fear. They're angry. They're scared. They're everything the puppeteers want them to be. What we see going on is all completely orchestrated. This is an old trick used to gain more power. From Pearl Harbor to 9/11, history, or his story, is littered with instances of governments using alleged terrorist attacks to justify invasions or suspend civil liberties indefinitely. Order out of chaos, an occult motto of which the vast majority of the world have never heard before, is in fact the motto and creed of the 33rd degree of Freemasonry, a secret society of which almost all our political leaders, both past and present, are devout members, and if not, they still fall in line with the agenda. It doesn't matter. The trick of creating chaos and then seizing power under the pretense of putting things back in order is a tried and true method of deception and manipulation. It's also referred to as the Hegelian dialect.
Okay, I'm just gonna give it a minute and hopefully it'll catch up. I don't know. My internet is still crappy. Let me try plugging in, I'll try plugging in let me try to hardwire it, but I don't know. It doesn't seem to help either way. Whoops. But we shall see. That's why I usually download the videos that I play on DLive, but yeah, this video is super important. So hey, Chris. Okay, so it says my Ethernet cable is corrected. It's corrected and connected. Okay. Let's try this again. I don't know if it's going to work or not.
agenda. It doesn't matter. The trick of creating chaos and then seizing power under the pretense of putting things back in order is all completely orchestrated. This is an old trick used to gain more power. From Pearl Harbor to 9/11, history, or his story, is littered with instances of governments using alleged terrorist attacks to justify invasions or suspend civil liberties indefinitely. Order out of chaos, an occult motto of which the vast majority of the world have never heard before, is in fact the motto and creed of the 33rd degree of Freemasonry, a secret society of which almost all our political leaders, both past and present, are devout members, and if not, they still fall in line with the agenda. It doesn't matter. The trick of creating chaos and then seizing power under the pretense of putting things back in order is a tried and true method of deception and manipulation. It's also referred to as the Hegelian dialect, after the philosopher George Hegel, who wrote about its effectiveness. He described it as thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. Others have described it as problem, reaction, solution. In that, firstly, you create the problem. Then secondly, you fan the flames to get a reaction. Then thirdly, you provide a solution. The solution that they wanted to achieve in the first place, but wouldn't have been able to achieve under normal circumstances. George Orwell described it as reality control. In his book 1984, he said, "The rocket bombs which fell daily on London were probably fired by the government of Oceania itself, just to keep the people frightened." The core values and beliefs of the financially elite, self-appointed overlords of the world, are on display all across our plane of existence for those with eyes to see. Besides Hollywood's blatant mind control techniques, their methods of subconscious brainwashing, and even their routine predictive programming, the satanic cabal have hidden their plans for humanity in plain sight in numerous different ways. The message is always clear and always consistent. It's a message that the established empire of evil live by. That message is order out of chaos. The great
Okay, so I'm just gonna pause it right there since it's buffering anyways. Sorry about that again. That's why I download them. But so the Hegelian dialectic that he just mentioned, he mentions how they have to trick us into taking our rights away. Doesn't exactly say it like that, but that's how I explain it. They have to trick us by orchestrating these events because they can't just come out and tell us that they're going to take our, our freedoms away or our rights away that have been in the Constitution for years. So, for example, they can't just come out and say, hey, guess what, guys? We don't like the fact that you have these pew 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 items, and we don't like the fact that you are able to protect yourself and your families with them. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to take those away from UK. So if the government came out and said that, it wouldn't work. It would be stupid on their part. There's no way that Americans are just going to give up their freedoms, especially when someone's comes out and says that you're going to take something from them, right? They know that. They know better. So they have to again, trick us. So they orchestrate these pew 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 shootings and cause the problem. The problem is the shootings, right? We, the public, then react to these pew pew pews, and I already said shootings, so I don't even know why I said pew 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 still, because that's just pointless. But just in case. So the public reacts like, oh my God, this is crazy, this is insane, this is stop these innocent people from dying in the hands of these pew pew pews, right? So they create the problem, the event. We then react. We don't think logically. We just react. We say, oh my God, do something. So we turn to them for a solution, not realizing that they were the ones who actually created the problem in the first place. And boom, in comes your solution, which is pew 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 control. Now they can't do it, take it away all at once, but little by little with each event, they can take it away. So for instance, with the Las Vegas event, they took away bump stocks. That's one piece of a pew 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 that people use, right? So over time, it's going to be where there's nothing, you're not going to have any pew pew pews to protect your family and yourself from intruders or whatever. So it's a Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution. Now with the Watts case, in my opinion, they are causing a problem by saying that these victims, the Ruseks and the Watts are, and specifically the Ruseks, are being harassed, they're being bullied, they're being sent death threats. And so, but nothing's being done about it. And that's why Frank Rusek stands in front of the Watts house and gives that news interview or statement, whatever, and starts pointing his finger at these big social media platforms like YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, saying, we've tried to contact you, we've tried to have our lawyers contact you about this abuse and this harassment, but to no avail. So he's pointing his finger at these big platforms saying that they're not doing anything about this so-called harassment, even though there's no evidence to back up what they're saying, like the death threats and whatnot. Talking about a case, a very publicized case, is not harassment, especially coming from individuals who did nothing but promote the case and publicize it by going on Dr. Phil and, you know, streaming the funeral live on Facebook and working with Netflix, of all people, right? But they have the audacity to say, you're not allowed to talk about the case. So Frank Rusek is creating the problem by saying that these platforms are not doing anything. Then we're supposed to react and say, this is crazy, you know, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. How could you allow this harassment to, you know, to happen towards these victims' family members? So we just react. We don't think logically. We react and we say, do something about this harassment. So we turn to them, not realizing that they were the ones who actually created the problem in the first place. And then boom, in comes the solution: free speech. Taking away free speech. Saying you're not allowed to talk about these cases. You're not allowed to talk about anything that goes against the official narrative, even though you're just simply talking about a well-publicized case. So this Hegelian dialectic can be for all different reasons, not just pew 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 control. And they use it all the time, and it works. It's brilliant. So they're essentially tricking the public into literally giving their rights away. So when, you know, these individuals who start begging for something to be done, they truly think that they're doing something good for society, when in fact they're actually making things so much worse, because they're literally giving up their rights. And those are going to be the ones who are going to wake up one day and they're not going to have any freedoms. They're not going to have any rights left. They're going to go, what do you mean I can't have my guns anymore? What do you mean I can't have I can't talk about my favorite true crime case on social media? What do you mean? Because you're the ones who begged for your rights to get taken away, literally. So that's why I want to show you guys this. Even though I am taking a risk showing this. It's super, super important for you guys to see this. If it buffers anymore, then I might not be able to play it because I know it's super annoying. But we'll see.
Deal. U.S. Mint. Circumstances. Lucifer, the light bringer. Illuminati, enlightened ones. Lucifer, the light bearer. You can see how those go together. Above the I is the phrase annuit coeptis. The official translation as given by the U.S. State Department, U.S. Mint, and U.S. Treasury is he has favored our undertakings. When they say he, they imply God, but not the God most people think. The God they're referring to is none other than the God of this world, according to the Bible, Satan. Lucifer. Call it what you want. Argue if it's real or not.
Okay, yeah. Unfortunately, my internet sucks, and I still haven't called to get another modem because downloading the videos was working fine for me. I just really, really hate even dealing with those companies, and I'm gonna have to print a return label for the modem, and then I don't have any ink for my printer right now because I don't really print that much stuff. And so I'm gonna have to go to Kinko's and yada yada yada. And it's just a big old pain in the butt. But apparently I'm gonna have to do that. Oh, I'm gonna have to do that if I want to continue streaming, obviously, because that's super annoying. So I do apologize. Yeah, and I agree, Kristen. Kristen, she, NA should remove herself from social media, but she's making great money selling Thrive. And Sophia, nothing against you selling Thrive if that's, if it's helping you and if it's making you money, then that's great. So I don't ever want you to think that I'm, bashing you personally or anything like that, or anybody else that sells Thrive. But to me personally, I do think it's a scam, and I do think it's cult-like, and they have a huge role in this event, and that would make me turn away from that just in general. So hey, Pure 3. So I did put the link to the video in the chat because unfortunately it's just we're going to be here forever at this rate. So I will record it and download it somehow or something, and maybe I can play it again. I've played it on DLive before, as I mentioned, but yeah, it's too much buffering. So how long have we been on? An hour and 20 minutes. So if there's any questions that anyone has, I will try to answer those for you guys. But again, I want to try to keep this somewhat of a short live stream, just because 3 hours is way too long. I haven't, Jamie. I simply don't watch his channel anymore. It's so much disinformation. It's so much controlled opposition. It's just to keep. I don't watch it. I haven't seen. I've seen the trailer, the teaser for the American Horror Stories, Jay, but I haven't seen the newest promo for the actual show, like the American Horror Story show, just the one for Hulu. But if they continued with the connections into the 10th season, I'd be surprised, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that would be insane. I don't know how you would keep carrying on with a story or a narrative that's clearly over with, but or well, it should be anyways. Oh, so I do remember the other thing that I mentioned earlier, the other connection. So there's a Melissa Parrish, and I looked up her actual spelling of her name at one point, because again, with this case, a lot of these last names and a lot of these names of people involved, they mean something. They're symbolic for something, like the Kenneth Dahl and the Otto Wilson and the Ted Bandy and the Kate Lyons, because Freemasonic, they love their lions. Lie, because the whole thing's a lie. And then, of course, Ted Bundy, it's all in plain sight, and it's all mockery. They think they're so clever, and they actually, they are quite clever to incorporate all of the symbolism and these breadcrumbs into these events is insane. But, it's straight up mockery at its finest. And, but they also like to use play on words with the names. So, for instance, with the Mandy book event, the coroner's last name was Carver. The pathologist, the coroner, the one that did the autopsies. Carver, carving knife. What do pathologists do and coroners do? They cut open the victims. So it's no coincidence that his last name was Carver. Again, they like to use these play on words and these other meanings for these names. And that's just one example. But so, for instance, with the Watts case, right? I started to notice that there seemed to be a lot of words, well, maybe not a lot, but several words where the word die was mentioned. So they'll like to use, they're dying, or death or something, just to really, I don't know how to explain it, just really push the mockery of it all and what they're doing. So, for instance, Chris and Shanann went to San Diego for that Thrive convention, right? And then Nate's dog's name is Diesel, Diesel. The Watts lived with the Dietz, Dietz, another die, for a year while their home was being built. Then you also have dioptase. Chris searched for dioptase, so die, death, die, all over the place. Then you have Melissa Parrish. And like I said, I looked up. Yeah, and Trina Snitch, exactly, Scotty. Yeah, because he's a snitch. Yep, it's a play on words. Yeah, and Christy, exactly, like all the lies that, and the Lee names that I pointed out, because it's all a lie. Because they don't have to, but they admit what they're doing because they believe in karma. So if they tell us what they're doing or plan to do next, and we're too stupid to realize it, then that's our own fault, but they no longer have karma on their hands. It's a messed up way to look at it. but that's what they believe. So, with Melissa Parrish, I did look up her name, because if you look up, the history of names, the meaning behind them, just like the name Lee that I've pointed out in my videos, it also means lie. And Lee is also one of the 13 Illuminati bloodlines. So although it seems like it is a common name, a very common name, it still has different meanings behind it. And that's what they're all about. Yeah, exactly, Jay. And the watchdog's name is Dieter, Die. And you could also see that as being like a deity, because they love, Saturn and the solar system and all that. But Melissa Parrish, even though it's spelled differently, if you look at the definition for Parrish, it means to die quickly in a very, I don't know, tragic way or something. Let me look up the exact definition, but I think you guys get the point. Okay, perish. Suffer death, typically in a violent, sudden, or untimely way. Suffer complete ruin or destruction. So although, again, it's spelled differently, it's still their little tricks that they like to use to, rub it in our faces, and the mockery, and it's in plain sight. Yes, Christy, I do. I do believe that they are 100%. And the reason why I say that, there's reasons why I came to that conclusion and why I don't think it was a sacrifice, is simply because there's absolutely zero evidence to prove otherwise. I mean, you talk about 8-inch holes. There's no autopsy photos. That everything's conveniently, the caskets are sealed tight. There's just nothing that proves to me, beyond a reasonable doubt, that any of that. And I'm still holding back because that's one of the things you're not allowed to say on YouTube. Yeah, that's a really great point, Matt. And it's scary, because knowing either way, it's not a good situation. But these people are capable of anything, and they can literally do it legally. But if you literally, look at my theory, and you look at this case from a different standpoint, and if you can push your emotions aside, like I've said several times, once you are able, if and when you're able to see the truth about this case, everything, or most of the things that don't add up, and the questions that we don't have answers to, all make sense. They're going to make so much more sense. You're going to be like, holy cow, that totally makes sense. I'll be right back. Sorry, my kitty wants out. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, me, Jamie. Yeah, and I mentioned that in my video as well, that Nicholas means victory of the people, or victor of the people. That's what they're doing. They're trying to be victorious over us. And again, they're putting it in plain sight. And another thing that I noticed the other night on Mia's channel, she had the discovery up. I don't know why I always say the discovery, because I always end up saying . But anyway, it happens, right? She had the discovery up. Maybe I just need to slow down. And it's the part where the officer is talking about how Chris called the hospitals, but he he thinks that Chris just faked calling it, right? So he says that he called the hospital and to see how long it would take to get an answer about whether there was a specific patient was there or not. So he says he called the hospital and he asked if let me look at my screenshot. So that I don't get it wrong here. Okay, so it says, following suggestions by many, Watts searched Google for hospitals near his home. In less than 4 minutes, Watts called Good Samaritan Medical Center, Lafayette, St. Anthony North Health Campus, Longmont United Hospital, and UC Health, Broomfield. The average duration of these calls was 40 seconds. The longest was 69 seconds. Out of curiosity, I called St. Anthony's. Without identifying myself, I asked if Rollo Tomasi was a patient. It took 2 minutes to get my answer. I suspect Watts merely called each hospital to create a trail of concocted concern and never actually spoke with anyone. So, again, with this case, a lot of what they show us means something, and it's set on purpose, and it symbolizes something else. So I found it odd, the name in general, Rollo Tomasi, and when I searched Rollo Tomasi, the first thing that came up, do you know what came up? LA Confidential, the movie. Rollo Tomasi is a character from the movie LA Confidential about a murder case. Sorry about that again. But out of all the names this officer could give to try to, to see if someone was a patient there, just, for an example, he picks Rollo Tomasi. What are the odds that he picks a character from a movie that happens to be about two detectives working a murder case? It's that sort of BS that I'm talking about. It's just straight up mockery. And what does that one officer say on the body cam footage? That he's only seen Dexter before or something. He quotes Dexter. There's just so many references to movies in this case. It's insane. But they're literally telling us, you guys, like, then that's what it's so frustrating, because just knowing that so many people are being duped and just straight up mocked, it's disheartening. But unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to wake everybody up, but I'm just hoping at least I can wake some up, because it's so important, and people in the true crime community are going to continue to be duped over and over and over again. I've already seen several cases just recently that Scream orchestrated. So I don't know. We'll see. So but that being said, my voice is getting hoarse already, of course. And like I said, I do want to keep this somewhat short. I apologize for the for the buffering. There's unfortunately nothing I can do about that until I can get a new modem. So, hey, Melissa C. That's a good question. I'm not 100% positive whether they are real families or not. I mean, it does appear as though they are. I mean, they do look alike, but it would not be difficult to get two families to agree to do something like this, especially if there's a big payout involved or some sort of benefit for doing so. So I guess it's kind of a big deal whether they are or not, but not really. The important part is proving that this case is orchestrated and it's not what everybody believes it is. So but yeah, great question. But thank you everyone for being here. I will try to do more of these. Again, I am always streaming on DLive. I stream on DLive pretty much every day around somewhat the same time. So and if you ever have any questions about the Watts case, just drop in there, and if I'm in there, I don't mind answering. So, but I'm going to try to be more transparent for sure. And if my channel gets taken down, that's unfortunate. But again, I can't I can't I can't do it anymore. I can't sugarcoat anything anymore, because again, it's not getting us anywhere. And the truth about this case really needs to come forward, because it's enough is enough. But again, it's easier said than done. So yeah, again, thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next time.